She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I can't be with someone who doesn't have a future." Then she grabbed her bag and walked right out the door. I just stood there and said, "All right, that was it." The very next morning, I accepted a six-figure job offer in New York, the one I'd been keeping to myself. She didn't find out until pictures from my going-away party started popping up all over social media. But maybe I should rewind and explain how it all led to that moment. About 3 months earlier, I was sitting in my tiny studio apartment, staring at an email that felt like a lottery ticket. The subject line read, "Senior Software Developer Position, Final Offer." I'd gone through 4 grueling interview rounds with a Manhattan tech firm, and now they were dangling more money than I ever thought I'd earn. The only catch was I had 2 weeks to decide, and if I said yes, I'd be moving in 3 months. I minimized the email and glanced across the room. She was curled up on my beat-up thrift store couch, scrolling her phone like it was the most important thing in the world, completely unaware that the future of our relationship sat inside my inbox. At that point, we'd been together for 2 years and living under the same roof for 8 months. I really believed we were building something solid. The timing couldn't have been worse, though. She had just landed her dream job at a local marketing firm, finally putting her communications degree to use after years of clocking in at retail. Her whole family lived within 20 minutes of us. So did mine. Taking the job meant walking away from all of that, from the comfort of familiarity. But it also meant breaking free from the endless loop of dead-end jobs and paycheck-to-paycheck stress that had eaten up most of my 20s. So I waited. I had 2 weeks, and I figured I'd use that time to figure out how to break the news. Maybe she'd light up at the idea of a new adventure. Maybe she'd see what I saw, the chance of a lifetime. But I never got that far. The conversation that wrecked us happened on an ordinary Tuesday night in March. I came home from my soul-sucking data entry job at a small insurance company, the one that barely paid my share of rent, and found her already pacing the kitchen like she'd been rehearsing a speech. She launched into a story about her coworker's boyfriend, how he just got promoted to regional manager, how they were looking at houses, planning their future together. The comparison hit me before she even said it out loud. That guy had ambition, direction, prospects. And me? In her eyes, I had none of that. She told me she'd been thinking hard about where we were headed. She said when she looked at me, she saw a man stuck in place, someone satisfied with mediocrity, someone who wasn't pushing himself. The words poured out like she'd been practicing them in the mirror. Then came the line that finished us. She couldn't be with someone who had no future. I stood there in the doorway, still wearing my jacket, and felt something colder than heartbreak take root inside me. It wasn't sadness, not yet. It was more like the sting of unfairness. The cruel irony that I had, sitting in my pocket, an email offering me everything she claimed I lacked. Could have told her right then. Could have whipped out my phone, pulled up the job offer, and watched her eat those words. But I didn't. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was realizing that if she couldn't see my worth without a 6-figure salary attached, then she never truly saw me at all. So instead, I hit her with one word. Okay. No fight. No begging. No promises to be better. Just acceptance. She looked almost shocked, like she expected me to fight tooth and nail for us. But why bother? She'd already made up her mind. By the weekend, she was gone. She packed up her half of the apartment and left behind nothing but a few forgotten things and the faint trace of her perfume. That Sunday, I sat alone in the silence of what used to be our place, staring at that job offer email. Monday morning, I accepted it. The next 3 months blurred together, paperwork, packing, planning. I quit the insurance gig, sublet my apartment, and started prepping for the biggest move of my life. The company covered my relocation costs and even set me up with temporary housing in Manhattan until I found my own spot. First, I told no one. Not my parents, not my closest friends, and definitely not her. It felt like a secret weapon I wasn't ready to share. Something powerful I needed to keep to myself a little longer. After all, she'd made it crystal clear. My future wasn't her concern anymore. But secrets have weight. By May, I started opening up. My parents were surprised but proud. My friends were hyped, already making plans to crash at my place in the city. The hardest part was realizing that if they wanted to stay in my life, they'd have to put in the effort now. I was done being the one always reaching out. The farewell party wasn't even my idea. A coworker threw it together and somehow word spread. What started as casual goodbye drinks at a local bar snowballed into a full-on event. People I hadn't seen in months showed up. Some wanted to wish me luck. Others were just curious about the guy bold enough to actually leave. I never even thought about inviting her. But her best friend came, and I knew it wouldn't take long before the news reached her. The party was a blast. For the first time in a long while, I felt like the main character in my own story. Everyone wanted to hear about the job, about New York, about how I managed to land such a big opportunity. I tried to play it cool, but it was impossible to hide my excitement. People snapped photos. Others shared them online. By the end of the night, my farewell was trending in our little social circle. Group shots, congratulations, people posting about how proud they were of me. And of course, she saw it all. The first text came at 2 in the morning. Can we talk? Then another an hour later. Is the job real? Then a longer one, wondering why I'd never told her about any of this while we were together. I ignored them. The calls started the next day. Voicemails that grew more frantic as she pieced things together. She realized I must have had the offer before the breakup, that while she was tearing me down for lacking ambition, I was sitting on a life-changing opportunity. She demanded answers, wanted to know if I'd hidden it out of spite, wanted to know if we still had a chance, wanted to talk. I listened to every message. Then I deleted them. Update 1. The morning I was set to leave for New York, I was hauling the last boxes into the moving truck when she appeared. I hadn't seen her face since the day she packed her things and walked out, and time had clearly left its mark. She looked smaller somehow, not nearly as sure of herself as the woman who had once stormed away so confidently. She lingered at the end of the driveway, clearly hesitant. The movers were wrapping up inside, and after I did one last sweep through the empty apartment, I stepped back out and found her still there, like she needed me to give her permission just to speak. Before I could even decide how to handle it, she started talking. Apologies poured out. She admitted she'd panicked, that her fears about the future got dumped onto me, that she had been wrong about me, about my potential, about everything. Her words came fast, one after another, 3 months of regret spilling out all at once. She confessed she'd realized the breakup was her biggest mistake, that pride had kept her quiet until those farewell party photos made her see exactly what she'd lost. Then she hit me with the question I knew was coming. Would I stay for her? Or, if not, would I at least take her with me? Standing there by the truck, keys in my hand, I felt nothing. No anger. No sense of victory. Not even the satisfaction of revenge. Just the clear knowledge that her timing was 3 months too late. I told her I appreciated the apology, but her timing said it all. I pointed out that she only saw my value once she realized I had it on paper. Then I asked her the question she couldn't answer. What if I had stayed? What if I never took the job, never became this version of myself? Would I still have been good enough? Her silence gave me everything I needed. I wished her luck, told her I hoped she found what she was chasing. Then I got in my car and drove away, leaving her in the driveway of a life I'd already outgrown. Update 2. New York turned out to be everything I'd hoped and more. The job challenges me in ways that make me excited to wake up every morning. I've got a 1-bedroom in Brooklyn with a view of the skyline, and I've built a circle of friends through work and my neighborhood. For the first time as an adult, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She still tried to keep a thread of contact, a birthday text here, a holiday message there, small updates about mutual friends. I respond politely, but that's it. There's no point pretending we're friends, and there's no need to be cruel either. A couple months after I moved, I heard she'd quit her job and relocated, saying she needed a fresh start. Word was she struggled, couldn't find her footing, and eventually started telling people I was the one who slipped away. The irony wasn't lost on me. She let go of what she had before she knew its value, and now she was the one wandering without direction, trying to rebuild from scratch. I should have felt vindicated, maybe even pity, but mostly I felt grateful. Grateful she revealed her true self before we got in too deep. Grateful her rejection pushed me to gamble on myself in a way I might never have done otherwise. Update 3. About 6 months into my new life, I was grabbing coffee before work when I bumped into someone from our old circle. He was in town for business, recognized me, and we sat for a quick catch-up. Over lattes, he filled me in on the local gossip. Turns out, she moved back after only a few months away. The fresh start hadn't stuck. She'd taken a job that was a step backward and struggled to build any kind of new life. Now she was back at her parents' place, working temp jobs, trying to figure out what came next. He said she still asked about me, wanted to know if anyone had visited, if I ever mentioned coming home. From the way he described her, It sounded like she'd lost her confidence completely. The woman who once knew exactly what she wanted was now paralyzed by fear of choosing wrong again. Part of me felt a little sympathy, but a bigger part saw it for what it was, the natural fallout of her choices. She bet she could do better than me. When that bet went bust, she tried running from the mess she created. Meanwhile, my life was soaring. I'd just gotten a promotion, upgraded my apartment, and started seeing someone new. A sharp, talented architect who admired my drive instead of treating it like something I had to prove. The contrast wasn't lost on me. She left because she thought I had no future. In doing so, she wrecked her own. Final update. A year later, I came back to town for my cousin's wedding. The whole weekend felt like stepping back into a smaller version of my life. The same familiar faces, the same safe conversations, the same little world I'd once believed was all there was. I didn't see her at the wedding, though I heard she was around. A few relatives mentioned she'd been asking about me, even hinted I should reach out. They said people change, maybe there was still a chance. I smiled, nodded, and changed the subject. On my last night in town, I met up with an old college buddy for drinks. That's when she finally showed up. She looked better than the last time. Steadier, healthier, more put together. She'd apparently landed a stronger job and was starting to rebuild. She asked if she could sit with us. My friend, reading the situation, excused himself and left us alone. We talked for 20 minutes, maybe. She told me about her new work, asked about my life. She mentioned seeing pictures of me and my girlfriend, said we looked happy. Her voice carried that unmistakable weight, the regret of knowing some choices can't be undone. Then she got to the real point. She said she'd learned a lot about herself in the past year, that she understood now how badly she'd misjudged us. She said she didn't expect anything, but wanted me to know I'd been right to move on. She even thanked me for not taking her back when she asked, admitting she now saw it would have been for all the wrong reasons. I told her I was glad she was doing better, that I hoped she kept finding her way, and I meant every word, because the truth was, her rejection was the very push I needed to change my life. For that, I'll always be grateful. We hugged goodbye, and I knew that would be our last real conversation. She belonged to my past, and I had worked too hard on my future to look back. The next morning, I flew home, back to New York, back to the life I had built after she told me I didn't have one. Sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting, or scheming, or making a scene. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming the man you were always capable of being, with or without someone's approval. She said I had no future. I proved her wrong by building one without her in it.